Hello, beloveds. I have walked with Jesus for 40 years, and during that time, I have mostly feel like the closest to God's presence when I'm in nature. And so I am sharing some photos that I've taken of various pieces of God's beautiful creation. And with that said, a little bit of a backstory on my, my testimony of God with us. As you're about to hear, I walked through a lot of loss in 2023, and even prior to that, the last 2 years, I've seen a lot of people step into eternity, and that has been overwhelming. But even as close as I feel to God when I'm hiking a trail or walking through the redwoods or looking at the ocean or just the beauty in nature and creation that we are so blessed with, I have never felt God's presence more than in what I've walked through the last few years. And so I hope that this testimony of just my revelation of God being with us, I hope it blesses you. And I hope that as you listen and hear the words that I share in just a raw voice memo recording, that as you see these pictures of the beauty of creation, that you would be reminded that not only is God with you, but the one that called things that were not as though they are, that called into existence, let there be light, let there be trees, let there be all of the beauty that we see in creation. That when you see those things that catch your eye, whether it's a sunset or a desert landscape, whatever it is that speaks to you most and pulls on your heartstrings, makes you come alive, that when you see those things next, you would remember that He is with you and He sees more beauty in you than 10,000 millions and millions of sunsets and stars and all that there is. You are His beloved and He is yours. And He is with you. Emmanuel, God with us. It's becoming one of my favorite names for God, for Jesus. Over the last year, going into 2023, I had no idea what I would be faced with. And just the sheer amount of loss, I feel like I still don't really have adequate words for what I walked through and really am still walking through, even though it's a new year. But Jesus has been reminding me in the passing of each beloved that He is with me. And in a year that I was getting ready to mark 40 years of having a relationship with Jesus, to have that year be the year that I lost my mom and dad, like the people that, brought me into the world, to not have them anymore. It's hard on the heart. It creates a deep sadness, even though I know I'll see them again. But as I've been processing that loss, Jesus just keeps reminding me that He is with me. Even in a hospital room when my uncle has taken his last breath, and it's just me and God there in the room, because the body is just a tent and the spirit of my uncle is immediately with the Lord. And in the natural, you feel alone. You feel so alone. But then he whispers, "My beloved Kimberly, it's always been me and you. You were in my heart before the foundation of time. And all that I did on the cross was for you, so that I could be with you. And here I am with you. And it delights my heart that I have your affection, and that you've received mine, and that you give it back to me. And while I would never want to sign up for the pain and the tears and the loss and the grief and the sorrow and the sadness and the suffering, I'd sign up and go through it all over again because of the revelation of his presence, the sensing his nearness to my broken heart. That the most simple, profound truth is the simplicity of the gospel, that for God so loved the world that he gave his son. And in giving his son, he experienced a broken heart like none other. One that we in the flesh cannot even fathom. And that Jesus was loving the Father in a life of obedience, even to death on the cross. And all the while, he thought of us. It's not just some cliche thing to say, but when he was on the cross, you were on his mind. I was on his mind. And the moment he thought of me, he couldn't go back. He didn't turn away from the cross. The excruciating pain of all the sins of all mankind being placed upon himself, becoming sin itself so that we might become the righteousness of God, making a way, paving a way for us to have a relationship with the Father, to be restored, for us to have a relationship with him, for his Spirit to dwell inside of us. This is Emmanuel, God with us. He will never leave us in our suffering. He meets us in it. And if all I ever have, if everything I know and love and treasure is stripped away, the truth is God will never be stripped away. And nothing can strip me out of his hand. Nothing can snatch me away from his presence. Even when it comes to the grave, visiting my parents' grave, I realized the last time I was there that it's just a monument to them. It's not their grave. Because this side of the cross, we don't walk into a grave. We go straight to glory. Jesus faced the grave on our behalf. He defeated sin, death, and the grave. And because of that, if we know him, we go straight to him. We don't go to the grave first and then take a ride up. We just go to be with him. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. This one that faced the grave, faced separation from the Father on our behalf so that we would never have to be separated from his love. And that is the greatest treasure. That is the ultimate beautiful truth. And if suffering reveals that and brings that truth to home and lets it settle into my heart and my mind and my spirit, then I am willing to suffer well, knowing all the while that he is with me. My God is with me.